I'm Dennis O'Hara. I work for Sarasota County Emergency Management. I'm one of seven that are on our staff in emergency management. We're a division of emergency services. So we have the fire department, 911. So we're a very large department. And today I'm going to talk about hurricane. It's a hurricane seminar for the 2025 season. We'll give a recap of what happened last year too. So, hurricanes are our biggest threats, or tropical cyclones, but they're not our only threat. So we could have wildfires, we could have tornadoes, we could have biological incidents. So, since 1953, it's been recorded we've had 48 declared disasters within Sarasota County. So they're not just all tropical storms. So know that we're an all hazards agency, so we could respond to a cybersecurity incident just the same way as we could respond to a tropical cyclone or a hurricane incident. So all incidents begin and end locally. So we have our incident. So on this graph, our incident is in red. That's where something's happening. And then we get a local response. So we get first responders, our NGOs, our non-governmental organization partners. Private sector partners respond, individuals and families. And then if we need further assistance, then we can request help from state and tribal resources. And then we could request all the way up to the federal level if we need additional resources as well. And then eventually it circles back and it ends locally. So it begins and ends locally. This is a picture of our Emergency Operations Center. We're actually just down the street behind the bus depot on Porter Way. So about 5 minutes down the road is the Emergency Operations Center. And it's a giant complex. And so right next to us, we had just completed and just opened up a new fire administration building. So the fire department is located right next to us as well. We also house the 911 center. So the sheriff's office runs our 911 center, and they're located in the same location. So within that EOC, the building itself is built to 253-mile-an-hour winds. So the building will be there if we have a tropical cyclone that is a Category 5 storm that comes through. So we'll be okay in the building. I don't know if anything else will be around, but the building will still be there. So we have plenty of seating in there. We have 96 seats in there. So we're, believe it or not, we're only a mid-sized county. Yes. Just up the street behind the bus depot on Porter Way. It is north of here. It's right up Cattleman. Right up Cattleman. So we have 96 seats in there. Most of them are staffed with county employees. So of the approximately 2,300 county employees that we have a program called E-Roll or Emergency Roll, and every county employee has a role to serve in an emergency situation. So as I mentioned, emergency management, there's 7 of us. There's not enough of us to go around. And in 96 seats in that room, we can't do it all. So we rely on our partners from the other departments within the county to support us. So emergency management, what we do, our role in disasters. So we're working with the local, state, and federal agencies to coordinate disaster response and recovery. And we're still in recovery from last season. We're pushing out public communications. So that's the bottom picture. And then we're determining evacuations and providing mass care services. So we do determine the evacuations. And in Sarasota County, we only issue evacuation orders. We don't do mandatory or voluntary. So if we issue an evacuation order, we encourage everyone to evacuate. There's reasons why. We have information from the National Hurricane Center. We're on calls constantly with the National Hurricane Center, the National Weather Service, and Florida Division of Emergency Management. So we're constantly in communications with the latest weather forecast. And then we secure resources and mutual aid, which we did have a lot of mutual aid this past season, which I'll get into that. So here's some of our partners. So coordination with state agencies. So we have the Florida Division of Emergency Management, FDEM. And we request them to be in person in the EOC. We have the Department of Health in Sarasota County. They are in our EOC with us. Department of Transportation, FDOT, we request them or liaison. Division of Law Enforcement, so FDLE comes in and they can provide assistance to us along with FHP, Highway Patrol. We get Florida Fish and Wildlife Commission. Department of Children and Families. that's one that comes in later. So this one is disaster food assistance, and we could have DSNAP come in later on, post-incident. So if you lose all of your food, so due to power outages and you lose all of your food, you may be eligible for reimbursement through DSNAP to get your food replaced. So that is something that comes in after with Division of or Department of Children and Families. Military affairs, we get the Florida National Guard in, including the Florida State Guard. Department of Commerce, economic recovery resources. So we've even had them stop in. They have a law enforcement division, and we've had them stop in to worry about economic recovery to make sure that for residents that are using vendors, when these companies come in, we want to make sure that we have licensed vendors and we're not just unlicensed contractors coming in and causing problems. I already mentioned Fish and Wildlife. FWC is in, and they provide a lot of resources in the Department of Agriculture with animals and agricultural issues because we are a mixed-use county. We are urban, but we do have a lot of agriculture in the county, and we rely on Department of Ag. So some resources that we've secured. So we secure food and water. And when I say food and water, what do you think of when I say food and water? Is it the Chick-fil-A or the Publix that you just had? No, it's sustenance. You're getting MREs, meals ready to eat. They're very high in calories, but they are life-sustaining and bottled water. We've brought in comfort stations. Comfort stations include restroom facilities, shower facilities, laundry facilities that we brought in. And then we do an unmet needs assessment. So we're looking to see what our unmet needs are in the community and where our biggest impact is. And that's going to help us determine where do we need these comfort stations? Where do we need to send resources? And then we get into mutual aid. So we had a lot of mutual aid that supported us this past season. So fire search and rescue, a lot of that's going on right now. If you've seen the news, what's going on in Texas, and up the East Coast with all this flooding that's going on. And you see these fire trucks or fire boats. Those are called urban search and rescue teams. And we have a lot of them that converged on us. A lot of law enforcement resources. So FWC, Highway Patrol, we get resources in from other parts of the state that aren't impacted, and they can assist us and allow our staff to get some time off. We brought in emergency management staff. So there's 7 of us. We can only go so far. I spent a lot of time in the Emergency Operations Center in that big room that I showed you the picture of. We brought in teams. We had one particular team that came all the way from Colorado to help us. So Colorado doesn't deal with a lot of hurricanes. However, we all follow what's called the Incident Command System, ICS, and it's a nationwide approach. It's a standardized approach that everybody's speaking the same language. So even though our partners from Colorado that came in to help us, they don't deal with hurricanes, but they deal with wildfires. So when we use the Incident Command System, we're using the same language, plain language. So they're able to come in, and it's an organizational structure that we follow that they were able to integrate with us. They actually deployed here for the middle storm, which was Helene, and ended up being here to support us through Milton when Milton actually made landfall here. So it was a huge benefit for us to have our partners from out of state. Damage assessment staff. So we had a lot of damage assessment. We had to bring in teams from all over the state, including contractors, to help with damage assessment. Our planning and development services does our damage assessment, but there's only so many of them to go around. And in order to cover the entire county, we had to bring in support. And then staging area support. So we brought in a lot of resources. So the next thing I want to show you is a video, and it's I think a 2 or 3 minute video that our communications department put together from last season. So it's a good overview.
Our tropical storm Debbie slowly making its way up the East Coast. dropping record rain. Homes in Sarasota still underwater.
Essentially, we've had twice the amount of rain that was predicted for us to have. We have had numerous streets that are flooded.
With a record-breaking 10 to 17 inches of rain there.
Helene, one of the largest storms in the last couple decades. At least 246 people have died, and now what is the deadliest hurricane to hit the mainland since Katrina.
We issued evacuation orders for level A, mobile and manufactured homes, as well as anybody living on a boat.
The raw power of a storm like Hurricane Helene.
Now, residents have started the cleanup process, but they've stopped while waiting to see the impacts from Hurricane Milton.
From one hurricane and now another monster storm barreling towards them.
2 back-to-back hurricanes.
Urgency as Floridians prepare for the second major hurricane to strike the state in just 2 weeks.
Many people worried that Milton would bring more of the same.
Level A, level B, level C, if you live in a mobile and manufactured home anywhere in the county, as well as those that live on boats. It's critical that you leave if you are in any of those areas.
Just hours away from being possibly the most powerful storm to hit the area in 100 years.
This is the worst structural damage that we have seen and experienced with our own eyes.
They're saying it's one of the biggest ever recorded on record.
The residents who I've been speaking with today, they say they are scared, they are nervous because this storm just feels different.
They're physically tired, they're mentally exhausted from it, but again, incredibly resilient.
Emergency management, MDEM, and the state and the governor are fully leaning forward to supporting every resource request possible to get our communities back up and running.
Teams are working across the community to continue recovery efforts from Hurricane Milton.
The Florida National Guard has been with us, teams that have been out this morning clearing roads. We do have evacuation centers open, are working on providing some additional resources.
Points of distribution set up across the community from north to south.
Thank you to all of the responders, all of the teams that came in from across the state.
True public servants at heart are away from their friends and their family and cleaning up their yards, and they do whatever it takes.
So very impactful. Very, unfortunately, that's the reality we live in, though, because we live in Florida. So we're not trying to sugarcoat it. It could be a reality again this year. We hope not, but that's why we need to be prepared. So I want to go over some stats from last season from the 3 storms. So in the first storm, Hurricane Debby, which was well over 100 miles off the coast, so not a direct hit to us, but we had just under 17 inches of rain in less than 48 hours. It impacted just over 1,000 homes. We had 58 million in residential damage. We had 12 million in FEMA grants for residents, and we had 49.7 million in FEMA funding for county public infrastructure. So that's roads, emergency repairs. So even for a storm that stayed well over 100 miles off the coast, it still had major impacts here for us. Then comes September, we have Hurricane Helene. So we issued an evacuation order of level A. Does everybody understand what their evacuation level is? Any questions on it? So does everybody know the difference between your evacuation, and I'm going to come back to this, but between your evacuation level and your FEMA flood level? No. Okay. And that's very common. So I'm going to tell you the difference. So your FEMA flood level is dealing with fresh water. So if we have freshwater flooding that occurs, so if we have a rain event and it causes that fresh water to come up through the creeks or through rivers, your evacuation level is specific to storm surge, so saltwater and intrusion. So we're very concerned about saltwater, and there is a slide in here. I'm going to get to it in a few minutes here that I'll touch on, and it'll show you the graphics of saltwater intrusion. But that's the difference. So FEMA flood, it's dealing with your insurance, and freshwater evacuation levels is dealing with storm surge. So in Hurricane Helene, we issued an evacuation level A. So that's all manufactured homes, boats, anybody that lives in level A. We expected 5 to 7 feet of storm surge, which we did incur. We had over 7,600 residents that were impacted, so we went from 1,000 to 7,600. Here's a big one: $1 billion in damages to residents and businesses. It's $1 billion, so a lot. We had a lot of impacts. And then we had $43 million in county public infrastructure repairs, emergency work, and this number continues to climb. It's still going on today, even though it was last season. We're still trying to make repairs. And then just a short time later, we had Hurricane Milton hit us. So we had evacuations issued for level A's, A, B, and C. And if you heard on the video, I don't know if you could hear Sandra Tab-Fumine, our emergency management chief, if you could hear in her voice when she was issuing that evacuation order, especially on level C, there was some urgency there that you need to heed the warning. We've never issued an evacuation into level C before. So that was a first for Sarasota County. We did sustain 10 foot of storm surge in Manasota Key. Thankfully, it was just in Manasota Key and not in Siesta Key where landfall occurred, because we would have had even more damage. So we probably have some residents that think they went through 10 foot of storm surge, but they actually didn't. It was contained to a very small area of Manasota Key. So that's why we're really pushing education on storm surge. So we had 95 homes that were damaged. We had 1,100 businesses that were damaged. We had $36 million in FEMA grants for residents. We had $97 million for county infrastructure repairs and emergency work. So it just keeps going up on our infrastructure that gets impacted. And here's the biggest number of all: is we've collected 2.4 million cubic yards of debris. That is a lot of debris. Debris takes a long time to collect and to dispose of. Anybody have any questions up to this point? No, actually, it's not. Most of it does go to the dump. Vegetated debris gets ground up, and then it gets sold off, becomes mulch, usually. But so that's why you have to separate your vegetative debris from white goods, because we don't want the vegetative debris going to the landfill. Off the top of my head, I don't know. But where to go to find, and it'll be in the slides, but where to go to find where your specific address is just go to scgov.net, and there's a know your level tool on there. And that'll tell you exactly for every address in the county, and it'll tell you where to go or what your evacuation level is. Both. Both. It can be both. We can, it would be the height, but depending on the height will determine how far it goes in. So our county response between all three storms last year, we completed 546 mission requests that were put in. And mission requests could be opening up our evacuation centers. It could be requesting state assistance for our pods. It's a number of things. The state provided 375 mission requests for us. We opened up 29 evacuation centers or shelters. So we call them evacuation centers. We have 12, and then we have 12 general population and 2 medically dependent. And we open them all at the same time. And then we go to transitional sheltering once we have to get out of the schools, because they're all located in schools. And we'll go to transitional sheltering. So we had 29 evac centers and shelters opened, and we sheltered over 10,000 residents and pets, because all of our shelters are pet friendly.
Most of the people, it's not very good to move. They have a special shelter for those kind of people. The people that all hide her.
It's a difficult question. So we have 2 types of shelters. We have the general population shelters, and we have 2 medically dependent evacuation centers. The medically dependent evacuation centers, and I would encourage everyone to call 311 and see if you qualify for it. There are parameters to qualify for it. And for our medically dependent, therefore our most critical, but when I say most critical, they're run by the Department of Health. You have to be oxygen dependent, that you require power. So the only 2 of the 14 have generator backup. The other 12 do not. So it's a last line of refuge. It's an uncomfortable place. You're going to be sleeping on the floor. You have to come with your own supplies. But it is a safe place. So when we're dealing with a hurricane that's coming at us, we need everybody to get to a safe place. You can call 311 now anywhere in the county, and you'll get a hold of to see if you're eligible to start the process. There's no guarantee that because it goes through Department of Health. It's a Department of Health program. So there's no guarantee that you'll get into it if you don't meet the criteria, but you can. Yep. 311 to get you more information on it. Absolutely. And speaking of 311, we had, they answered, and 311 is our non-emergency line. So they answered over 9,700 calls for public information throughout the season. So they took a lot of calls in our 311 center. We also provided over 81,000 meals to residents. So that came to $1.2 million worth of meals that were provided. A lot of nonprofits, a lot of mass feeding out in the community. And then the last item here is points of distributions or comfort stations. We had 16 of them, and that was the earlier picture where I showed you the laundry facilities. We had shower facilities. We had restroom facilities. So we had them. They are out there. That moves us into our 2025 Atlantic Hurricane tropical cyclone names. So for those that aren't aware, we're already through 3 names. So we could potentially have the 4th soon, but time will tell. So we have a front coming through. So over the next couple of days, so we could expect some rain over the next couple of days. But right now it doesn't look like it's going to impact us, but that doesn't mean it's not. Hurricane season runs June 1st to November 30th. Peak season is August, September. So we can get one we can get one before, we can get one in May, we can get one in December. But this is the traditional hurricane season, which is June 1 through November 30th. But our peak season is August, September. So we're coming up on it very quickly. This is a forecast cone that the National Weather Service puts out. And it's experimental, and they just started it last season. And traditionally, you would see the cone and you wouldn't see all these colors. You would just see the cone. So you wouldn't have the reds, the blues, the yellows. So what's the first thing you do? You look to see, am I in the cone? So if you're not in the cone, are you going to be impacted? Yes, maybe. If you live in the state of Florida, the odds are yes. So that's why they changed this. Because a lot of people see the cone and they say, well, I'm not in the cone. I'll be fine. But what you're not seeing is the impacts from the rain, from the storm surge. So there's always what it's called the dirty side of the storm. So everything always to the right of the storm is going to get impacted, oftentimes even worse than the direct landfall. So for example, where I said Manasota Key got 10 foot of storm surge, but landfall was on Siesta Key, because that was the dirty side of the storm. It's always worse on that right side. So that's why we could have impacts outside of the cone area. So that's why the National Weather Service and the National Hurricane Center come up with this cone, or this updated information to show that impacts are going to go far exceeding just the cone. So hurricane wind scale. So we have 5 types. We have a level 1 through level 5. So level 1 is our lowest level, some damage, unanchored mobile homes, vegetation, and signs, all the way up to category 5, which is 157 miles an hour plus. and that's catastrophic. Most buildings are going to be destroyed, vegetation destroyed, major roads are cut off, homes are flooded. So Cat 5 is our biggest or the highest level. But this is just on wind. So you can't measure the scope of the hurricane just by the wind scale. But we also have to measure it by the storm surge in the rain. That's because wind is just one factor. So as you asked did you ask the question? Yeah, you guys asked the question earlier about where the evacuation level is. So scgov.net, go to that website, and you can go to know your zone. I'm sorry, and it will direct you to wherever you are in the county to your address, and it'll show you which level that you are in. And here's the graphic that goes along that we were talking about earlier with storm surge. So if we have 7 foot of storm surge, and then this also goes along with the category 1 through 5. So we're worried about wind in categories. Well, that doesn't take into effect the storm surge. So in this graphic, we're showing waves up to storm surge up to 7 feet. So that's going to take out level A, and that's about halfway up your door. So 7 feet is going to major impact to level A. If we have 15 feet of storm surge, we could have water intrusion all the way into level C, a couple feet, 2 to 4 feet into level C evacuations. If we have 20 foot plus of storm surge, we're going to expect water all the way through level E. So that's pretty much the entire county is going to be underwater. And that's a bad day for all of us. So that's why we're really stressing the threat of storm surge. Everybody just looks at the category, but don't take into effect the storm surge. And that's so you can't have a level 1. And there's going to be slides that show some storms where they were only a category 1, but you'll see the storm surge. So here's that slide. So Hurricane Katrina was a Cat 3, and we had 28 feet of storm surge. Hurricane Ike was a Cat 2, and it had 20 feet of storm surge. So last year, Hurricane Helene, which did not directly impact us, when I say directly, it didn't have landfall here. It stayed well off 100 miles off the coast, but it came in as a Cat 4, had 12 to 16 feet of storm surge. Ian had 10 to 15 foot of storm surge down in Lee County. Hurricane Irene, so a category 1 storm, the lowest level, 8 to 10 foot or 8 to 11 foot of storm surge. So you never know what you're going to get. And then Milton last year, 7 to 10 feet of storm surge. It was a Cat 3, and we did sustain the 10 foot on Manasota Key. Thankfully, we didn't have 10 foot in Siesta Key because we would have had even more damage than we already did. So why do we evacuate? We evacuate because of the water, the storm surge zones, the low-lying areas that are prone to flooding. And we're in the state of Florida, so that's pretty much most of the state. We could have flooding. And then wind. So manufactured homes, mobile homes, RVs, boats, that's what we need to evacuate. So don't make decisions based on past storms, because just because it was a 1 or a 2 doesn't mean that it's not going to be impactful to us again this year. Every storm is different. So it's time to prepare. So you want to get a plan, you want to build a kit, you want to stay informed. It is the season, so we need to have, what are our plans? Where are we going? So whether you evacuate to an evacuation shelter or evacuation center, or you don't have to go to an evacuation center, you could go to friends or family. You need to get to the next zone up. So if you're in an A, you want to evacuate to a B or a C or a D. You don't have to go hundreds of miles, maybe tens of miles. So what is your evacuation plan? Stay at home, only if it's safe. Plan B, as I mentioned, family and friends outside the evacuation levels. So you don't always have to go to an evacuation center if an option is to go to friends or families. You're going to be more comfortable staying with friends or families. Plan C would be a hotel. I didn't know this, but some insurance does cover hotels if you are in evacuation. If your area in where your home is required to evacuate. Check your policy. on that. And I found that out through our chief, Sandra Tafumine, who, when she was down in Lee County, her family evacuated to the East Coast. She ended up getting reimbursed for their hotel stay through her insurance. So you never know. Your insurance might cover that. And then Plan D would be evacuation centers. As I mentioned, we have 12 general population evacuation centers and 2 medically dependent. All of them open at the same time. And the county stance is that when we're opening up our evac centers, they want to break down barriers for anybody to get to an evacuation center. So if you know there's one at a school that's by you, it's going to be open. Not every school is an evacuation center. They're designated certain ones, but we don't want anybody to have any barriers getting to an evacuation center. So as I mentioned, there's 12 general population locations. There's no registration required. It's uncomfortable. It's going to be uncomfortable. Whatever you take is what you have.
Back to that last thing. What would you consider only if they but
Oh, only if you live and say you live in a C, an evacuation level is C, and then if you have a newer home, new construction, you don't have to. Then you're up to current codes. You have storm shutters. You're not in an evacuation zone. That's what we would consider safe. Good question. And then our medically dependent. So these are power and oxygen dependent, our most critical residents. So it does require pre-registration. So you can go to scgov.net/be prepared, or the simple solution is to dial 311. And that'll see if 311 call takers can help with determining if you're eligible. They can start that process, the application process. Not just with that, but if you have any county-related questions, regardless, it doesn't have to be storm-related. If you have any questions for Sarasota County, you can call 311, and it's an information line, a non-emergency line for any departments in the county. They'll be able to connect you. So what you want in your kit? So you want drinking water, you want a gallon of water per person and pets for up to 7 days in case you're cut off. You want non-perishable food and a can opener. So if you have cans of food, you want to make sure you have a pop top. That's the cans are pop top, or you have that can opener. Manual can opener, not an electric one. Got to say that because some people might not think about that manual one. Paper items, paper plates, paper towels, toilet paper. So you want paper items, medications, and a first aid kit. A big one is a NOAA weather radio. So if cell towers are down, you still want a NOAA weather radio because they can be run on batteries and you'll still receive weather information that way. You want a flashlight with extra batteries, cash. Cash is always king after storms if you can't use your credit card anywhere. And then puzzles, games, board games, etc., just to occupy your time because you are going to have some downtime, and those are good, all good things to have. So insurance is key. So I mentioned earlier how much FEMA has reimbursed residents. Well, FEMA is not going to make you whole. FEMA is going to provide a little bit of funding, but it's not a lot of funding. Insurance is key. So flood insurance is important. So just 1 inch of water can cause over $25,000 in damage to your house. If you get water that's into your house up to your outlets, now you have to redo all of your electrical. It's going to go even more. So water is very damaging. So get flood insurance through the National Flood Insurance Program, the NFIP, and that's on the national level. And please know that if you are going to look for flood insurance, it typically takes 30 days to become effective. So you couldn't buy it today for a storm this weekend. You could, but it's not going to be in effect. It takes 30 days to go into effect. Before you evacuate, so turn everything off, including your circuit breakers, your water shut off. Make sure your car is gassed up. because there will be an issue on getting gas stations up and running, at least initially. Shutter, board up your home, bring in all loose items from outside your house, any lawn furniture, etc. And here's a big one: alert friends or family members what your plans are, where are you going. So what's your contact information, so that somebody knows where you are and how to find you, or where you were anticipating going. Prepare your home, your HOA. A lot of this is the same. So this is store valuable information. I don't think we're really talking about, does anybody need HOA information in here? No? Homeowners Association? Homeowners associations should also have their plans in waterproof containers, their fire and waterproof containers, the valuable information, and that's also for residents too. Have a go bag with your important insurance information. This is dealing more with the public side. But after the storm, know that there's going to be limited emergency services. So when the storm is approaching, first responders still respond up to 45 miles an hour. Once we get sustained winds of 45 miles an hour, first responders come off the road. So police, fire, EMS are not responding to emergency calls. I don't know what the numbers were after this past season, but I do remember during Hurricane Ian, it was almost 900 911 calls were sitting in the queue during the storm. They have to go out after the storm and clear every single one of them. And they may go to an intersection where there was a call and there's nothing there, then they clear the call, but they have to go to every single one of them after the storm passes. So know that there's going to be limited emergency services because we don't know where the impacts are going to be. Roads might be cut off. So it's going to take some time. So impassable and washed out roads, traffic lights are going to be out, power outages are going to be potentially could be widespread, not necessarily, but they could be widespread. There could be damage to sewer systems, water infrastructure, telephone, internet services. But seek assistance if you need it. So, I mean, that's why we have 911. Call 911 if you need it, but know that it may take a little bit of time. On the second to last bullet, the damage assessment or the damage to sewer systems and water infrastructure. So know that if the county has to shut off water, for example, if they have to shut off water to the barrier islands, say it takes 8 hours to shut it off, which is a ballpark number to shut it off. How many hours do you think it takes to restore it? Not a trick question. It potentially 12 to 24 hours, depending if there's damage. So it would be 8 hours if there's no issue. But there's almost a guarantee there's going to be some issue somewhere. Something's going to be down. So if it takes 8 hours to shut it down, it could be 12, 24 hours. It could be days before it gets restored because they have to make emergency repairs. So know that if something goes down, Public Utilities, Public Works is working as fast as they can, but it's going to take some time to get it back up. Some resources. So what we opened up in the county after this past season. So we opened up a multi-agency resource center, a MARC. That ended up transitioning to a disaster recovery center, a DRC. And we also had NPODs, neighborhood points of distributions that were available to our impacted areas. And that was our food, water, tarps that were distributed. And then we had our comfort stations. So here's an example of a restroom facility on the far right. The middle one with the National Guard is one of our pod sites. The National Guard comes in and assists us with running our pod sites. And then on the left is the MARC, the Multi-Agency Resource Center. And that's where you're going to go to get state assistance and federal assistance and register for help that way. So you want to stay informed. So Alert Sarasota. So I would encourage everyone to register for Alert Sarasota. Alert Sarasota. So you find that at alertsarasota.com. And what that is it provides notification. So if we have a flood, if we have a hurricane coming in, they'll be able to push out information. And that all the municipalities in Sarasota are on this. So whether you're in unincorporated Sarasota County, you're in the city of Sarasota, the city of Venice, city of Northport, or the town of Longboat Key, you can receive information from Alert Sarasota on that particular jurisdiction. And you can pick and choose, so you're not going to get everything. If you only want certain alerts, you can pick and choose what types of alerts you want. Sarasota County Contact Center or 311, that's another good place. So if you have any questions, call 311. It's a non-emergency line and they can get you assistance. And then there's social media. There's the social media handles on Twitter and Facebook. The county does a lot of social media presence. A lot of information gets pushed out via social media and the county website, scgov.net. So the action items, the takeaway for today. So you want to develop an emergency plan. What are you doing? Where are you going? How are you getting there? You want to build a kit so that if you are evacuating, you could take it with you, but also a kit for at home. What do you need at home? Sign up for emergency alerts, so alertsarasotacounty.com. And then the last one would be share the information with 5 friends or family members. And the whole point of that is to be a force multiplier. So you take that information and push it out to somebody else. So are there any questions?
What if you don't live in evacuation? No.
Then if you don't live in an evacuation zone, well, if we have an unprecedented, there's always the chance that they could, but the retention ponds, most of them are interconnected. In my neighborhood, they're all interconnected. So they'll flow from one. If one's overflowing, it'll flow to another one, and to another one, and to another one. Most of them are. That's a good question.
All these, do you have any, what's your,
I don't have any handouts, but everything we have is available on there. We don't currently have any preparedness guides. We're in the process of printing some more preparedness guides, an actual hard copy that would have all this information in it, but we currently don't have any. But periodically check back. 311 would people will call and you can maybe get them through them. When they're ready, yes. Absolutely. I can leave my card, or at 311 would be the best option. Yeah. Pardon me? Some minor tweaks. It's not completely, there's a lot of similarities. A lot of that is going to determine what the impacts are looking like through a lot of, when I say a lot, I mean a lot of calls with the National Hurricane Center, Florida Division of Emergency Management, the National Weather Service in Tampa, constant phone calls with them to see what are impacts, where are they, and is it going to wobble? And every storm is going to wobble, and a wobble of a few miles could make a big difference. So it's a fine balance. We actually have to work backwards. So if we expect landfall at this time, we have to start over here, because we can't just say we're going to open up evacuation centers 2 hours before landfall. We have to do it almost 2 days ahead. So it's a fine line because we have a lot of equipment we have to move. It takes time.
category one, do you open evacuation center or with minimal like storm surge? Or are we looking at something like?
We don't always go by the category, because if we have that storm surge concerns, if we have the threat of the storm surge, then we're probably going to open them. We have to open them. Everybody gets stuck on the it's a Cat 1 or Cat 5. Well, that is a concern. The wind is definitely a concern. Yep. Yeah. We have to consider that. Yes. Great question. Absolutely. Everybody. Librarians work in our shelters. We've had county attorneys working in our evacuation centers. Every county employee has to do something, regardless of what they do. There's your blue sky role, which is today, which you do every day. And then we call it gray skies when something bad is happening. So during gray skies, everybody, you might not do the same thing. I do the same thing because that's my job. But librarians, they don't work in evacuation centers, but they do during gray skies. So yeah, every county employee has a role. There's some exceptions, but they're very few. Great question.